Alright, so what I'll be doing today is going through how web services can allow different software. So basically allow different clients to connect with different services, which may also be again implemented in different languages. So the idea is you have all these nodes, so the clients can connect to servers, or well, in this case services, and the services too can respond to the clients, and there is an agreed format for communication. So what we'll be doing is taking a look at we'll be looking at weather, global weather. So there is a web service. So this is, I'm just going to go to the root. It says www.webservice.x.com. So if I go there, and I'm sure there are many services available, but the one we'll be taking a look at is the one that says global weather. You know why my network isn't died out. Okay, so global weather. Okay, they have a whole list, but let's use the global weather one. So it says globalweather.asmx. So that means that this is most likely implemented in .NET. Wow, and there are so many web services to choose from. So it says explore, business, commerce, messaging, value. So I'm hoping that people in the class get excited about web services, because what you can do is, if you are a web application developer, you can create web services that allow people to send functions or commands to your web service. Now, in class, what we said was, if a service exists, for example, for this global weather, there is get cities by country and get weather. So let's see what get cities by country looks like. Now it says that, so what usually happens is when you create a web service, or in this case you want to try someone's web service, they may give you a test page. So this is an example of a test page, and it says that it's expecting to test a parameter. So for example, if I typed Ghana and I type invoke, now usually there are many protocols for sending and receiving information. So this is an example. It says that if your website, so SOAP 1.1, if your web application, or if you're able to send it with a post, so it says if you can post to this location on that server and you send this information, so look at it carefully. It's an XML structure. It looks like HTML, but look at the structure. It says XML open, and it says SOAP. It's an envelope, so it's almost like you are sending a virtual message to somebody. And it says in the body, it's trying to call get cities by country, and the parameter is country name. And note that it looks a lot like this. So it looks like you're sending a form over the internet, and you're sending it to some location, but you are passing the parameter like Ghana. So that's your string. And it says it will respond, and this is what a response. Okay, we'll look at a response because they haven't done the responses here, but these are all just different versions. You can also use HTTP GET, HTTP POST, so many different versions that you can use. Alright, so let's invoke so we can see what the response looks like. And this is what the response would look like. So it means that if you can code some XML, so that means in the next lab or a few labs later, we are going to be combining some of these web services and allowing each person to come up with a client that can connect to one of the web services available and pull down information, do something interesting. So start exploring, but I'm getting you started right here. So this is what the response will look like. Now, this web service, which is available on webservice.x.com, and I'm using a global, this is the global weather one, right? And what I just ran was get cities by country, and I got the list. If you've been using a phone like an Android phone or some sort of weather application, a lot of them can actually just be connecting to this and presenting the information. So hey, you could have made an app that is widely used by everyone. So it means you have to put in the work. So get city. So usually the person would say this is my country, or you can read the GPS from the phone or from the PC, and you can use a web service like this to pull all the cities in the country. So for example, it says, if you look at this carefully, it says country, Ghana, a city, Accra. Next one, country, Ghana, city, Ada. So all the cities are actually here. So the only thing you have to do is get an XML library to read and interpret this. Now what I'm going to do next is I am going to also try the other one, which is get weather. So let's try that in a new tab. I want you to try this as well, just to make sure we are all comfortable. So it says it wants a city, or now I think for this one of them, if it has one, it's fine. Like if I say I want weather in Accra, oh, let's do this. Accra, Ghana, invoke. Does not appear to have a style. Oh, why don't I have? Okay, because usually I should be able to get my, okay, so I got my city. Yeah, I don't know, I've got my cities. Yeah, because I should be able to pass to it the two strings and get back my result. I don't know why it says you can't find. Okay, let's try another city in another country. So let's, for example, try Germany. So let's see the cities that are in Germany, right? So it says Germany, there's a city called Berlin Schönfeld. Let's try it now. Invoke. Why am I not getting any? Yeah, it's very strange, because usually if you've provided the so it can't find it, but well, I don't know why it's not working today, but anyway, so let's use the one just for getting cities, right? So at least we are able to get the list of cities. I'm wondering if you have to be paid to get the actual weather, but anyway, so we can get the cities. Let's use getting cities to go forward, right? So let's pick up NetBeans. I'm using NetBeans. I've seen popular requests in the class, but if you have any type of IDE, whether NetBeans, Eclipse, just find out how you create web services. You can Google it, but creating it is very simple. So first of all, usually you need to have some application. It can be any type of application. It can be a Java console application. I'm going to use console because that's simple. Everyone can do console. It can be a Java web application. It can be a PHP application. Any application can connect. So let's use this. So this is my Java weather web service console. Alright, so that's my basic Java code, and what I'll be doing is adding in what do I call it? A web service. Okay, well, it's just a console, so I just call it console. Now this is there. I'll just run it to show you that it can run. Right, so it says this is my console. Great. Now next thing we're going to do is, sorry, I think it's this one. We are going to be adding to it a new. Now if it's your first time, you can go to other and it will list a whole bunch of things, and I think I may have forgotten where I picked this out from. Oh, there we go, web services. Right, then what you want to pick is a web service client. There's a carpenter working behind me, so if he starts knocking, forgive him. So web service client, say next. Now if you have your own project in here, you can pick a project, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick WSDL URL, so web service discovery language URL. Right, so that's the URL I'm going to use. Right, so let me go ahead and explain. So usually for any, so for example, this is the page globalweather.asmx, and if you add usually question mark WSDL, it would send. So look at the structure. It's an XML file. So an XML file looks like HTML, but of course it's human readable. Computers can read it. So what you want is you want to give your Java project the URL file. Usually I test it in the browser, make sure I'm getting back an XML response. So what I mean by an XML response is when you hit enter, you will see XML code. So this is XML code. So it says WSDL definition, text matching. Okay, so these are the different things that it accepts, and these are different methods available. So get weather is one. So let's go back to our Java, right? So to do this, we just do next. You can put this in a package. I just usually do, or is it web service X? Just keep it simple. Generate. Should have done the generate. I usually should include the generate part. So what it's doing is it's pulling all the different content. Next, do make sure you click the generate part, right? So if you look at your sources, right, that means that your sources should have been expanded by now. And you can see it says generated sources. I don't know if you can see this, but it has generated a whole bunch of classes for us. So what we're going to do, so the package I said was going to call web service X. So I'm going to say import web service X dot, well, everything. The one in particular that I'm interested in is get cities, but the main, well, the big is called get weather. Right. So if you look at the documentation almost came up, but anyway, let's continue. I just had the list here. Okay, get country name. I think I might have included, okay, let me do, it's supposed to be global weather. Let me use global weather. It's been a while. Okay, global weather GW is equal to new. Right, so it says it's a class, it extends. Usually what you'd see with the ones that are web services, the classes that are web services have in the documentation as web service client. So you can say, okay, that's the client I want. GW. So and there are different protocols. So for example, these are methods that you don't have to write them on yourself. So the nice thing is it does it for you. And it says you can do HTTP GET, HTTP POST, SOAP, and so on. So let's use the first one. Let's say HTTP GET. So that means, right, so that's an object, and then you can then continue with get cities by name, by country. Right. So that's the one we're doing. I'm going to create string for the country name and say that the country is Ghana. This is one of the ones we're using before, so I'll use this one. And then the response, currently blank. There's an extra bracket. So what I'll do is I'll print the response after. So let's look at the code. It says global weather, so that's the main point. And global weather would have all the methods that you need. So I'm going to do an HTTP get, of course, and for the get, the one I want is get cities by country. So you can pick the protocol that works best for you. I usually use SOAP, but let's use the HTTP get and see what we return. Okay, so it says there's an exception. Okay, let me change the method. So instead of this one, let me use the one I usually use, which is, well, one of the SOAPs. And run this. Okay, there you go. So that means it sent an XML, and I got back, this is my console, and this is the response. So this looks exactly like the data that you have gotten. So now if you have an XML library, you can read the data and do something with it. So what phones like the Android ones will do is there's a web service that the code will call to. And of course, that would mean the only thing the provider and the consumer have to agree on is the format. But with web services, it's standard. You don't have to worry. It does everything for you. So this is the Java version. So this is what I like people to at least take a look at. The next thing I want you to do, at least if you get one working, you can experiment with other methods. So there's get this one. The other one I wanted to, which I don't know why I didn't get any response for that. I'm going to try the get weather because I really want to get the weather. Okay, so it says get the weather, country name, let me just make sure I have the city names. Okay, so here is one. Tema, Salt Pond, Accra. Accra is in there. I don't know why sometimes it doesn't get me anything. But let me say city name is Accra. Country name, city name. Weather for. Alright, so let's run this as well. Let's see. Now the only thing I'll point out is if you are using or doing an interactive application, you must be aware that some of these things are weather for Ghana, data not found. Oh, that's so sad. Why? Okay, at least that's one. At least get cities works, so we know the way we're sending it works. The only thing is that sometimes, so for example, this it might depend on maybe how the person wrote the web service, because for web services it means somebody wrote the code, and so the responses you get back are based on what the person wrote. So if the person wrote in a way, sometimes you may have to contact who's making the web services and find out about, oh, what should I send to get what response. So okay, so let's do another one. I'm going to be using Visual Studio for this one, just to show you how you can do cross-platform consumption with clients. You don't have to do Visual Studio. I'm just showing Visual Studio as an example, right? So this is Visual Studio. I'm going to do the same example but using C#, just to show you that you have different clients that can communicate. So new project. Right. Trying to keep this simple. Okay, so console. So console web service client. Okay, to my solution explorer, and I have to add a reference somewhere. So add service reference. Okay, so this is nice, asking us for an address. So what we're going to do is going to go and get the web service discovery and discover. Okay, so it says one service has been found, and those are the services. So I'll call this web service X. Now that's the namespace, or you can leave it blank. And again, when you say okay, what it's going to do is the programming language concerned, in this case C#, is going to well, with .NET, will generate the necessary code that you need to make it work. So similarly, you can see here that it has created so it says web service, so it's been created for us. So let's start using it. Okay, so it sees almost the same. I just have to check for what the format is. So I just have to see. Okay, so this is an interface, so you can't instantiate that. This is the class, so that's the instantiable one. Web service client is equal to new and all these options, but let's keep it simple. So, and I'll say web service client dot. I'm going to do the same thing, get CDs by name. I'm kind of lazy at this point. I know I'm taking your time, so I'm going to make this very quick. String result is equal to not system.out. It's console. It's right line. Yeah, the languages are similar. Once you get one, I'm sure you get the others. The cities are, and I'll do console or out dot right line result. Okay, that's my favorite carpenter. Oh, result with just without the S. Okay, so let's run this. Let's run this and see. come on. See, there was an exception. Web service endpoint. Just trying to find out why. Not sure why I'm getting that. I need a name. One with an address. I was hoping I didn't have to go through all of that. Usually you can just specify and it does. Okay. No, that's not going to change it. Anyway, I'll try and debug and fix this, because what it's asking is, it seems it's getting confused because there's more than one configuration. Sorry. Alright, so I'm looking around to find the configuration name, and okay, so there's an application config file for C#. No need to memorize this, it will be there when it's generated. And what you can see here, it says web service. There are bindings, but there are two names here. One is SOAP, and well, there's that one and that one. So let me pick, well, whichever version. You can pick one. So I'm going to pick one of the versions, and also I'm going to do console.in. Just to make it pause at the end, so you know it's done. Console.out.write line. This is the end of the program. Right. Let me just trying to remove this so you can. Yeah, I should have closing. Okay, but at least I have all of this. So this is what the C# version looks like. Play it. Okay, so it's the same thing. I think it's trying to connect to the service. I hope it connects. Come on. Okay, there you go. So you can see that the result here, same structure, XML. So the idea now is there's a standard way for web applications to communicate with clients. So web services is one. I think JSON has also caught on, along with the get post variables. That means you send a URL, you just send the parameters into the URL. But the nice thing about web services is it at least provides a quick way for developers like this one. So you don't have to, for example, have memorized what the URL should be, what the parameters should be. That means that when you make this, it's almost like you're creating a URL object, and the web service takes care of, at least the web service description language and the generated code, handles what types of methods are available. So that's what I was talking about in class, that URLs, in terms of adding web services on top of those, it makes it possible for applications to figure out what to do with a URL, right? Which is different from just having a web page. So you can actually have a web page design, which is a web service, which would say get article. So for example, it's a news site, it would say get the article, get the author, get the text, get the. So you can do a lot of this in a structured, discoverable way. Now before we go, so let me just, things to inspire you, well, hopefully to inspire you. Let's go back to webservice.home, and there are a lot of them here. So for example, there's messaging. So let's see what's available under messaging. I encourage you to explore all of these, to take a look. At least that's your learning task for today. So it says you can send fax from free to any country. You can check if an email address is valid. So it's nice. You can send SMS. And here's another one. Send unlimited free SMS to the following countries. So if you have an application and you need to send SMS, maybe you can just use this. So send unlimited SMS. So here are covering the following countries. Ghana is in there, but it means at least if you lived in one of these countries, you could have used this to send SMS. So that's cool. Stock quotes, currency converters, statistics, mortgage, London, so a whole bunch. I think this is under business, so I do like this. Let's see graphics, things you have under graphics. But this is just an endpoint. Well, it's like a directory containing multiple endpoints. Text to Braille, barcode generator. Now, I do believe that a lot of the applications that you have in some of your Android devices can leverage web services. A lot of applications you have in your desktop could leverage web services. This is getting long, so I'm going to cut it short. So what you have to do today is do the Java one, right? And if you use Eclipse, you can search for web service client, and I'm sure Eclipse will take you through what to do. So I just search for this, and that's what the Eclipse people will need to do. Right? So thank you very much.